Men were at the top, and they were always connected on these hooks with a chain. You guys know how hot it was in Maysville. You guys know what that humidity was like when you went up that hill. Can you imagine that in this? In this. At the height, we have numbers that we say that maybe he had 40 or 50 men at the top and maybe 40 or 50 women at the bottom. So give or take about 100 people would be in here. Okay? So this thing was discovered about 20 years ago. Now at the same time this was being discovered, there was a movement going on here in the entire Ohio kind of river valley to once again commemorate, talk about, to get people educated about all this stuff that's happened here. And that's where this thing that you're in right now, not just this building, but the entire building, the Freedom Center comes into play. So about 20, 25 years ago, there was this initiative to create this thing. Oprah Winfrey, that's why you guys saw the video with her in it. Procter & Gamble, which you guys know is centered here. And they're like, we're going to create the best museum in the world that talks about this issue. Ready to do it. But then it becomes a conflict, like of local and national, of small town and big town. You get me? The people in Maysville, Buddy, Jerry Gore, and Miss Cheryl Brown, begin to take stances against people removing this from Mason County. Their thing is, this is where it happened. This is where the story is. Think about the Charles Young cabin that we saw, and they've moved it to someplace else. Now, of course, other people can see it, but their point was, we're trying to develop something here in Mason County. You guys see what they've been trying to do. And this is one of the key things, because many people believe this is one of the few standing ones that still exist in kind of the tobacco culture. So this thing was important. So there begins to be a fight. And Miss Brown, I told you guys, she's a bulldog. Miss Brown was like, I ain't having none of this. And what I mean by, you guys may not know, so Miss Brown, she started Footsteps. Miss Brown becomes the assembly person for the Inland Empire. But Miss Brown is also a journalist. You know, they write the Black Voice News. And Miss Brown is one of the people, you guys know during the OJ trial, the only news outlet, the African-American news outlet that had access was the Black Voice News from the IE. And Miss Brown would be on CNN and all that stuff talking about the OJ trial and everything else. This then, in the midst of that, Miss Brown has a profile, and she starts talking about this and writing. Remember, you can write your way to something. She's writing and talking and writing and talking, and we're for years, I mean, because it took time for this thing to get built up. Miss Brown would, even when we would drive by her on the bus, she would just be like, that place, just hating on the thing, just hate. So, finally they build the thing, and it's going to be this grand opening, and me and Paulette are saying to Miss Brown, we have to go to this. You can't not do this. You know what I mean? Like this. And I told you guys, this is like my godmother told you, she's a bulldog. She can come into church with a belt on you. You know what I mean? And so, this is not the word I want to say to Miss Brown, but I have to say it. We got to do this. And I'm talking to Miss Brown's only about this big. And she comes in here. She got the little walk we call it. Miss Brown walk, she walks in, and I'm telling you, this woman she can be really hard. She can just like dig in on something. And this has been years. This has been now. She's written stuff. She's been on TV talking about. She's made her position known. She comes in, and she starts to walk around. And she said, Daniel, I was wrong. She said, I was wrong. I know it may not seem like a lot, but you guys know how hard it is for people to admit they're wrong. Especially when we take a position on something and we get quoted about something. But intelligence is supposed to be that you have a position, but if you get contradictory information, then intelligence is your ability to pivot and move and see that. She showed me leadership that day. I'm telling you, Miss Brown is a hardcore sister. She don't play about stuff. And for her to say, I was wrong, it was one of the biggest things I ever saw her do in my life. And then, you guys remember yesterday when we were at the Rankin House, there was a picture on the left side of the wall of a guy with a bunch of freckles on his face, a brother. His name is Carl Westmoreland. Carl Westmoreland was the person who was brought in to, not to design the physical, but to design the content and what it's going to be and how things happen. All of a sudden, he finds out that we're here. He comes down, takes Miss Brown's hand, and says, thank you. He says, what do you mean, thank you? He says, if it wasn't for the pressure that you guys were putting on us, the museum would not look like what it is today. They wanted to do some milquetoast, whitewashed, kind of no real kind of stuff. And the fact that y'all were like on it. A lot. You guys know what's called an inside-outside kind of strategy to get things done? You got some people on the inside, the outside people, they'd be like, I ain't saying that, but outside agitating for the thing that you need. He walked her around here, took her to the family center, took her into his office. I mean, just everything. And it was just, and she just, I think she found the validation in her point, right? And I think sometimes you go as hard as you can on something because you believe that's true. But once again, when you realize you're wrong, so that's a leadership lesson. I know some of you guys are in leadership, you got a lot of different things, you got all these titles and all the rest of stuff. And sometimes you get in a space. But that woman, and she could have just stayed angry. After that, man, it's like we've been coming here every year, we've been doing our thing, all the rest of that stuff, you know? Now, let me give you a little bit more just about this place. This is a letter written